Good morning. All members, please come to the chamber. All members, please come to the chamber. And please take your seats. Ready. The hour for convening having arrived. All members will please take their seats. Mr. Clerk, will you ring the bell? We're going to have the morning roll call. We'll have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machines? Have all members voted? All members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers, will you please close the doors and keep them closed? As is our custom, we will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 48th House District, Representative Scott Hilton. Representative Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning, colleagues. God is good, and it is my, amen, God, this is my great pleasure to introduce my good friend, Pastor Steve Wood. Pastor Wood is a lifelong Georgian, born in Sandy Springs, and earned his bachelor's degree in finance, I knew I liked you, from the University of Georgia in 1980. He felt a calling for a higher purpose and answered that call by attending Asbury Theological Seminary in Wilmore, Kentucky. Today, Pastor Wood is the senior pastor at Mount Pisgah Church in Johns Creek for the past 17 years with a total membership of 8,000. Pastor Wood's church also runs a K-12 private school, Mount Pisgah Christian Church, Go Patriots, with a total of over 1,000 students. Pastor Wood has been married for 38 years He told me this morning, all to the same woman, and is the loving father of 4 children and 2 grandchildren. Colleagues, as you know, down here the speaker is God, but Jesus is my Savior, and here is my pastor to tell you all about him.
Well, good morning and God bless you. What a joy it is for me to be here with you and to be in ministry with you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished members of the House. Thank you, Scott Hilton, for your gracious invitation to come and be with you. In case you haven't heard, today is Super Tuesday, and we live in a time of complexity, don't we? For almost 40 years now, it has occurred to me that we, the people, have had the privilege not just of supporting you, electing you, and advocating for you, we've had the great and holy privilege of praying for you. So I want to offer you a passage of Scripture that I think is germane to all and is applicable to all, and it comes from the book of Jeremiah. I don't know if people still carry Bibles into the Georgia house, but if you do, why don't you turn there or on your device, God bless you, brother, thank you, to Jeremiah chapter 42. While you're turning there, let me just mention this. Prophets of the Old Testament never had good news. It was always turn and repent and get right and do the right thing and act for justice and righteousness. It was a call for the people to turn back to God. And so we are in the latter part of the prophet Jeremiah's call and mission and ministry. And finally, the people who had been disobedient, stiff-necked, and rebellious for so long came to him, and they were feeling overwhelmed. They finally realized we're not in one accord, we're reeling from the pressure of not knowing how to proceed, and they were actually willing to acknowledge to God and to Jeremiah, we have made a mess of things. They had proceeded with their own passion, with their own agenda. They had proceeded without the consultation or the wisdom or the leading of a God who cared for a nation and loved a nation more than they could ever understand. So all the people, the scripture says, all the people approached Jeremiah from the least to the greatest and said these words, Jeremiah 42:3. Pray that the Lord your God would tell us where we should go and what we should do. Where we should go and what we should do. I once heard Bill Curry tell a story about Vince Lombardi, who in practices for the Green Bay Packers on Monday would begin each practice and hold up a football and say, gentlemen, this is a football. Sometimes in the complexity of who we are and the culture in which we live, in the myriad of our different philosophies and opinions and passions, we lose the simplicity of the commonality that God has called us for the good of all people. And so it occurs to me that you need to know in your journey that there are people like me praying for you, and I suspect there are tens of thousands of us in the great state of Georgia who are praying God's wisdom over you. Do you need to be strong and courageous? Absolutely. Be very strong, be very courageous like Joshua. But you also need to be humble and usable in the hands of the Lord, for it is the Lord that has opened the door to call you to the servant leadership. We would do well to pray for one another and to do it often. Over the years, I've prayed from your brothers and sisters in all kinds of different places as I've pastored. Wayne Garner and Bill Hembry. God bless Bill Hembry and his health journey these days. I had the opportunity to come and to stand in this very well and to offer prayer and a devotion almost 35 years ago. And I can remember that during my prayer, I heard a slight rustling over here to my left, and I popped one eye open just long enough to see Tom Murphy loading a large cigar into his mouth. I thought he must be really secure in his relationship with God. We've seen characters, we've seen movers, we've seen shakers. I'll always appreciate Keith Breedlove and his humility. And then as I moved to the north part of town, Mark Burkhalter, Brandon Beach, and others, and now we're really blessed to have Scott Hilton. I just came to remind you what I often tell myself after 40 years of ministry. Keep it simple, Steve. Tell us what to do. Tell us where to go. And teach us how to do it for your glory. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you're able, I'd like for you to stand so that I can pray over you, please. Let us pray. O God, our help in ages past, you who are our strength and our hope to come, we give you thanks and honor and praise this day for the gift of life, the gift of faith, and the wonderful privilege of being able to answer your call for your glory and servant leadership. Bless this assembly. Give them wisdom and courage. Give them compassion and thoughtfulness. Help them to be the people you are calling them to be, to understand the simplicity of your great love, O God, for all people. And we pray that as you give wisdom and discernment, that you would also personally come alongside them to help them realize they are not alone. They may be surrounded by lots of people and feel alone, but your promise is that you will never leave us nor forsake us. And Lord, we stand in the reality of your promise that those you have called, you will equip to do your will and work. And so now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Be strong and very courageous, for God is counting on you. And we pray that in the name above all names, in the name of Jesus Christ. And all of God's people said, Amen. Amen. Would you join me now in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you.
Doorkeepers, you may unlock the doors. Members, you may join Pastor Steve in the South Ante room. Thank him for his presence here today and get a photo if you'd like to. Members, our doctor of the day today is brought to us by Representative Karen Bennett. Representative Bennett of the 94th is Dr. DeRuti Contractor. We appreciate Dr. Contractor for being here, and if you have a need, I'm sure you'll be served well downstairs. Chair recognizes Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits. Chairman Tarvin.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journal from the previous legislative day and found it to be correct. And on another note, mankind does less than it ought unless it does all that it can.
Mr. Chairman, the clerk's missing some wise comments from you, so I'll hope you'll work with him. Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to dispense with the reading of the journal? Chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day?
Representative Station of the 104th moves following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, reports of standing committees, third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions, morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none. The resolution is adopted. First reading the bills and resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 1441 by Representative Meeks of the 178th and Werkheiser of the 157th. The bill be titled Act to provide a homestead exemption from Appleton County School District ad valorem taxes.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1442 by Representative Deloach of the 167th. The bill be titled Act to authorize the city of Darien, Georgia to exercise all redevelopment and other powers.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1443 by Representative Holland of the 54th, Evans of the 57th, Silcox of the 53rd, Evans of the 89th, Bruce of the 61st, and others. Bill be titled an act to provide for operation of automatic transit vehicle lane monitoring devices.
Intergovernmental coordination general.
House Bill 1444 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Neal of the 79th, Douglas 78th, Bernal of the 77th, Bell of the 75th. Bill be titled an act to amend the act creating the Clayton County Board of Commissioners.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1445 by Representative Taylor of the 173rd. A bill be titled an act to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Thomasville.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1446 by Representative Persinger of the 119th, Abstration of the 104th, Gaines of the 120th. Bill be titled an act to amend an act recreating and establishing a Board of Commissioners of Barrow County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1447 by Representative Persinger of the 119th, Gaines of the 120th, Abstration of the 104th. Bill be titled an act to provide a new charter for the city of Statham, Georgia.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1448 by Representative Mathis of the 148th. A bill be titled an act to create a Board of Elections and Registration for Dodge County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Resolution 1325 by Representative Jaspers of the 11th, a resolution recognizing Mr. Jeff Downing and dedicating an intersection in his honor.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1326 by Representative Maynard of the 56th, Williams the 168th, McLean of the 109th, Mitchell of the 88th, Gilliard of the 162nd, and others. A resolution honoring Mr. Maceo A. Brown and dedicating an intersection in his memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1327 by Representative Maynard of the 56th, Williams the 168th, McLean of the 109th, Mitchell of the 88th, Gilliard of the 162nd, and others. A resolution honoring Mrs. Carolyn Lucille Long Banks and dedicating an intersection in her memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1328 by Representative Persinger of the 119th, Gaines of the 120th, Abstration of the 104th. A resolution honoring the life of Mr. Douglas Doug H. Garrison and dedicating an intersection in his memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1332 by Representative Mathis of the 149th. A resolution recognizing Mr. Richard Ricky and Allen Dykes and dedicating intersection in his honor.
Transportation.
Senate Bill 532 by Senator Jackson, the 41st, Butler, the 55th, Parent of the 42nd, Anderson, the 43rd. Bill be titled an act to amend an act creating and establishing DeKalb County, Georgia districts.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Senate Bill 558 by Senator Harrell of the 40th. A bill being titled an act to amend an act creating a new charter for the city of Doraville.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Senate Bill 560 by Senator Harrell of the 40th. A bill be titled an act to amend an act creating a new charter for the city of Doraville.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Senate Bill 562 by Senator Jackson, the 41st, Butler, the 55th, Parent of the 42nd, Davenport of the 44th, Anderson, the 43rd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Pine Lake.
Intergovernmental coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1431 by Representative Green of the 154th, Stevens of the 164th, Townsend of the 179th, Sains of the 180th, and Williams of the 168th. A bill relating to tax credits for film, gaming, video, and digital production. House Bill 1432 by Representative Reeves of the 99th, Martinez of the 111th, Jackson of the 68th, Hutchinson of the 106th, Oliver of the 82nd, and others. A bill relating to labor and industrial relations. House Bill 1433 by Representative Tran of the 80th, Williams of the 168th, Hitchens of the 161st, Moran of the 96th, and Bruce of the 61st. A bill relating to holidays and observances. House Bill 1434 by Representative McGall of the 105th, Holcomb of the 81st, Reeves of the 99th, McCollum of the 30th, Clark of the 100th. The bill relating to imposition rate computation and exemptions from credits. House Bill 1435 by Representative Hutchinson of the 106th, Barnes of the 86th, Drenner of the 85th, Crawford of the 84th, Willis of the 55th, and others. A bill relating to other educational programs. House Bill 1436 by Representative Yerta of the 152nd. A bill to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the Magistrate Court of Lee County. House Bill 1437 by Representative Scoggins of the 14th, Gamble of the 15th. A bill relating to general provisions regarding insurance and state employees' health insurance plan and post-employment health benefit fund. House Bill 1438 by Representative Williams of the 148th. A bill to amend an act creating a new charter for the city of Cordele. House Bill 1439 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, Corbett of the 174th, Draper of the 90th. A bill relating to special license plates. House Bill 1440 by Representative Smith of the 138th, Burns of the 159th, Jones of the 25th, Estration of the 104th, Burchett of the 176th, and others. A bill relating to the One Georgia Authority. House Resolution 1300 by Representative McDonald of the 26th, Jaspers of the 11th, Cox of the 28th, Barrett of the 24th, Jones of the 25th, and others. Resolution recognizing Mr. Bobby Thomas, dedicating a road in his honor. House Resolution 1301 by Representative Davis of the 87th. A resolution urging the Georgia Environmental Protection Division, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the DeKalb County government to resolve sewage pollution and spills. Senate Bill 180 by Senator Setzler of the 37th, Rass of the 28th, and Varch of the 31st, Gooch of the 51st, Payne of the 54th, and others. A bill relating to state government. Senate Bill 198 by Senator Harrell of the 40th, Albers of the 56th, Butler of the 55th, Duggan of the 30th, Rahman of the 5th, and others. A bill relating to governing and regulation of mental health. Senate Bill 202 by Senator Rahman of the 5th, Hatchett of the 50th, and Varch of the 31st, Orrick of the 36th, Goodman of the 8th, and others. A bill relating to public school property and facilities. Senate Bill 208 by Senator Dolezal of the 27th, Still of the 48th, Dixon of the 45th. A bill relating to the development impact fees. Senate Bill 307 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Watson of the 1st, Walker of the 3rd of the 20th, Butler of the 55th, Kennedy of the 18th. A bill relating to certification of private review agents. Senate Bill 347 by Senator Varch of the 31st, A bill relating to the number of judges of Superior Courts. Senate Bill 371 by Senator Strickland of the 17th, Jones of the 10th, Robertson of the 29th, Butler of the 55th, Albers of the 56th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions of workers' compensation. Senate Bill 390 by Senator Walker III of the 20th, Dolezal of the 27th, Setzler of the 37th, Watson of the 1st, Tillery of the 19th, and others. A bill relating to libraries. Senate Bill 395 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Watson of the 11th, Walker III of the 20th, Strickland of the 17th, Halpern of the 39th. A bill relating to student health in elementary and secondary education. Senate Bill 407 by Senator James of the 35th, Brett of the 33rd. A bill relating to general provisions regarding law enforcement officers and agencies. Senate Bill 414 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th, Gooch of the 51st, Robertson of the 29th, Andevart of the 31st, Alberts of the 56th, and others. A bill relating to state printing and documents. Senate Bill 420 by Senator Andevart of the 31st, Goodman of the 8th, Beach of the 21st, Cowser of the 46th, Gooch of the 51st, and others. A bill relating to general provisions relative to agriculture. Senate Bill 422 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Gooch of the 51st, Summers of the 13th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Estevez of the 6th, and others. A bill relating to public utilities, public transportation. Senate Bill 425 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, Alberts of the 56th, Gooch of the 51st, Summers of the 13th, Anderson of the 24th. A bill relating to the regulation of the practice of law and general provisions regarding notaries public. Senate Bill 437 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Watson of the 11th, Strickland of the 17th, Sims of the 12th. A bill relating to agriculture. Senate Bill 451 by Senator Islam Parks of the 7th, Payne of the 54th, Anderson of the 43rd, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Harbison of the 15th, and others. A bill relating to veteran benefits. Senate Bill 454 by Senator Strickland of the 17th, Jones of the 10th. A bill relating to alimony and child support. Senate Bill 457 by Senator Hofstetler of the 52nd, Parent of the 42nd, Summers of the 13th, Williams of the 25th, Anderson of the 43rd. A bill relating to public utilities and public transportation. Senate Bill 460 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Watson of the 1st, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Hofstetler of the 52nd, and Still of the 48th. A bill relating to physicians' acupuncture, physician assistants, cancer and glaucoma treatment, respiratory care, clinical perfunctionists, orthodontics, and prosthetics practice. Senate Bill 464 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Payne of the 54th, Still of the 48th, Eccles of the 49th, Andevart of the 31st, and others. A bill relating to teachers and other school personnel. Senate Bill 469 by Senator Estevez of the 6th, Hofstetler of the 52nd, Butler of the 55th, Gooch of the 51st, Parents of the 42nd, and others. A bill relating to the Georgia Higher Education Savings Plan. Senate Bill 472 by Senator Alberts of the 56th, Gooch of the 51st, Strickland of the 17th, Estevez of the 6th, Brass of the 28th, and others. A bill relating to online marketplace requirements. Senate Bill 479 by Senator Hatchett of the 50th, Hofstetler of the 52nd, Burns of the 23rd, Strickland of the 17th. A bill relating to secondary metals recyclers. Senate Bill 480 by Senator Hodges of the 3rd, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Watson of the 1st, Hofstetler of the 52nd, Summers of the 13th, and others. A bill relating to the Georgia Board of Healthcare Workforce. Senate Bill 490 by Senator Cowser of the 46th, Alberts of the 56th, Kennedy of the 18th, Robertson of the 29th, Gooch of the 51st, and others. A bill relating to motor vehicles and traffic. Senate Bill 493 by Senator Hatchett of the 50th, Kennedy of the 18th, Gooch of the 51st, Summers of the 13th, Strickland of the 17th, and others. A bill relating to the Sexual Offender Risk Review Board. Senate Bill 495 by Senator Watson of the 11th, Brass of the 28th, Estevez of the 6th, Watson of the 1st, of the 3rd of the 20th. A bill relating to the low THC oil patient registry. Senate Bill 496 by Senator Burns of the 23rd, Hofstetler of the 52nd, Genn of the 47th, Payne of the 54th, Williams of the 25th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions relative to ad valorem taxation of property. Senate Bill 502 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Hatchett of the 50th, Andevart of the 31st, Albers of the 56th, and Beach of the 21st. A bill relating to general authority, duties, procedure of the Department of Administrative Services. Senate Bill 503 by Senator Brass of the 28th, Summers of the 13th, Dolezal of the 27th, Genn of the 47th, Harbison of the 15th, and others. A bill relating to professions and businesses. Senate Bill 505 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, Cowser of the 46th, Watson of the 1st, Dolezal of the 27th, Gooch of the 51st, and others. A bill relating to regulation of hospitals and related institutions. Senate Bill 507 by Senator Gooch of the 51st, Beach of the 21st, Kennedy of the 18th, Dolezal of the 27th, Andevart of the 31st, and others. A bill relating to special license plates promoting or supporting certain worthy agencies, funds, or nonprofit corporations. Senate Bill 508 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Albers of the 56th, Strickland of the 17th, Tillery of the 19th, Robertson of the 29th, and others. A bill relating to courts. Senate Bill 512 by Senator Still of the 48th, Kennedy of the 18th, Gooch of the 51st, Estevez of the 6th, Dolezal of the 27th, and others. A bill relating to payment and disposition of fines and forfeitures. Senate Bill 517 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, a bill relating to justification and excuse under defenses to criminal prosecution. Senate Bill 533 by Senator Strickland of the 17th, a bill relating to proceedings upon plea of mental incompetency to stand trial. Senate Bill 534 by Senator Mallow of the 2nd, Estevez of the 6th, Goodman of the 8th, Still of the 48th, Merritt of the 9th. A bill to amend the Fair Business Practices Act of 1975. Senate Bill 542 by Senator Watson of the 11th, Kennedy of the 18th, Gooch of the 51st, a bill relating to water rights. Senate Bill 543 by Senator Brass of the 28th and Hodges of the 3rd, a bill relating to bingo. Senate Bill 547 by Senator Beach of the 21st, Dolezal of the 27th, Still of the 48th, Gooch of the 51st, a bill relating to safe operation of motor carriers, commercial motor vehicles, drivers, and safe transportation of hazardous materials. Senate Resolution 82 by Senator Summers of the 13th, Still of the 48th, Moore of the 53rd, Watson of the 1st, Huffstetler of the 52nd, and others. Resolution proposing amendment to the Constitution so as to authorize the tax commissioners, subject to a local governing authority approval, to waive certain delinquent ad valorem property taxes, penalty, and interest for the purpose of placing non-revenue generating and tax delinquent property back to effective utilization status. Senate Resolution 189 by Senator Dolezal of the 27th. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to provide that the General Assembly may, by general law, authorize local boards of education to impose, levy, and collect development impact fees. Senate Resolution 616 by Senators Still of the 48th, Kennedy of the 18th, Gooch of the 51st, Estevez of the 6th, Dolezal of the 27th, and others. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to provide that the General Assembly may, by general law, provide for the allocation of certain additional penalties and assessments to the Victims of Human Trafficking Fund. Through second readers.
I think we have the world's problem solved by now. A lot of good conversations the last 20 minutes. Members will please take their seats. Members will please take their seats. Mr. Clerk, will you read the reports of our standing committees? The clerk will read.
Representative Matt Hatchett of the 155th District, Chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Appropriations has had under its consideration the following bill of the House. It instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 916, do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Matt Hatchett of the 155th District, Chairman. Representative Beth Camp of the 135th District, Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local has had under its consideration the following bills of the House. It instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 1330 do pass. House Bill 1372 do pass. House Bill 1399 do pass. House Bill 1400 do pass. House Bill 1401 do pass. House Bill 1403 do pass. House Bill 1411 do pass. House Bill 1412 do pass. House Bill 1414 do pass. House Bill 1419 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Beth Camp of the 135th District, Chairman. And that completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
Members, we'll move on to the local calendar. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. Hearing none, it is so ordered. Mr. Clerk, will you read the local calendar?
House Bill 1330 by Representative Stoner of the 40th, City of Mableton. House Bill 1372 by Representative Smith of the 138th Town of Pine Mountain. House Bill 1399 by Representative Scoggins of the 14th City of White. House Bill 1400 by Representative Green of the 154th City of Damascus. House Bill 1401 by Representative Green of the 154th City of Blakely. House Bill 1403 by Representative Ridley of the 6th City of Chatsworth. House Bill 1411 by Representative Meeks of the 178th City of Screven. House Bill 1412 by Representative Blackman of the 146th City of Warner Robins. House Bill 1414 by Representative Hilton of the 48th City of Peachtree Corners. House Bill 1419 by Representative Camp of the 135th, Pike County.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bills on the local calendar will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machines? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the local calendar, the yeas are 157, the nays are 0. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. All right, members, we're moving on to morning orders. Morning orders. Some of you are going to have a time limit. One of you will not. And that person will go first on morning orders. The rest of you, I'm going to ask you to hold it to as close as humanly possible to 1 minute. 1 minute. Chairman of Appropriations, Chairman Matt Hatchett, is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this was put on your desk at 9:50. This is your only copy. Y'all get it? So don't lose it. There's a certain person called the clerk of this house that says we're not making any more copies. So I'm not arguing with him or others that may work with him. So this is your copy. Don't lose it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good work. I enjoyed hearing your subcommittee chairs present this morning. They did well. Oh, we have a special day today in the House. One of my favorite days. Chairman Dickey, tell us about the good stuff going on today downstairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I've got some other our colleagues here who peanuts are very important in their districts. You know, March can get a little crazy and nutty up here, but so March is Peanut Month, and I just want to recognize our great industry we have here in our state. Georgia grows 53% of the nation's peanuts, and they're used in so many wonderful foods. As many of you had a grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich downstairs that I enjoyed, and I hope you do, and all the great peanut butter and other products. Peanut brittle is probably my favorite, but besides the peanuts we use in this country, we export $471 million also throughout the world. And 250 Georgia companies are engaged in the agribusiness sector of using these peanuts, not including our great peanut farmers throughout South Georgia. The Georgia peanut industry plays a very significant role in the prosperity of our state. $2 billion contributes to our economy, employing more than 150,000 Georgians. So I just want us to thank our Georgia Peanut Commission that contributes to promotion and research for that great nut and keeps this industry strong in our state. So if we can all give our peanut industry and peanut growers a round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
My favorite nut, peanuts. There's no doubt about that.
Not pecans? Pecans?
Peanuts, man.
Peanuts.
Peanuts. Number one industry in our state, agriculture, and a big, big part of that industry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for you and for what your committee does. Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate your enthusiasm and support of our ag industry every day.
It's what makes Georgia go. Enjoy those PBJs. They're good. I had a couple this morning. Representative Glaze is recognized for a morning order. And friends.
Yes.
You have a
thank
lot of friends.
We've got a lot of friends. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. March is Women's Month, and we wanted to come down. We have a great group with us today, the National Association of Black Women in Construction. This organization has been elevated to national recognition within the construction industry. Their objectives are to advocate for contract opportunities for Black women-owned construction businesses, to cultivate strategic environments that are conducive to fostering educational and entrepreneurial connections, mentoring and the forthcoming generation of Black women and minorities in the construction field. I want to thank their founder, who is here with us today, all the way from Florida, Mrs. Ann McNeil. And if you guys would stand for us, and we will make sure we give you a rounding applause. National Association of Black Women in Construction. Ann Neal, founder, thank you so much. We'll take a picture at 11:30 on the South Side steps. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, for what you do. We appreciate you being here today. Representative Holland is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, long before I was a representative or a business person or a mom or a wife, I was a Presbyterian. And today I am very excited to welcome Presbyterians for a Better Georgia to our House. They are with us in the gallery, but this is a group. Oh, now we have the entire Presbyterian caucus, I think, up here in the well. Presbyterians for a Better Georgia is a group that is called to lift up the voice of all Georgians in this building and advocate for spreading of love through legislative issues. I would encourage you, if you are called to the ropes today, I know we seem scary, we're a little uptight, but I promise you we are filled with Christ's love. If you will just come out to the ropes and talk to folks, I know they're looking forward to having a conversation with you. I'd like to recognize them. They're in the gallery, including members of my own congregation from Morningside Presbyterian Church. So if y'all will wave up there, welcome to the People's House. All the Presbyterians up there. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Holland. It's good to have y'all. We appreciate you being here and appreciate your prayers. I know we received those. Thank you so much. Great to have you. Representative Schofield is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, happy Women's History Month. And thank you. This month and today is Small Business Day at the Capitol. And I am joined with some phenomenal small businesses here. Today we have the Women's Entrepreneurial Opportunity Project. We call them WEOP. We have Small Business Majority. Our Village United, Urban League of Greater Atlanta, the Wealthy Group, and Ready Nation. Can I have all my small businesses, they're the backbone of Georgia, please stand, they're in the gallery. We thank you for being here today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, we yield the well.
Wow, nice group, thank y'all. Welcome to the People's House. We appreciate what y'all do and appreciate you being here today. Representative Dewey McLean is recognized. There's Representative McLean.
Thank you.
You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, colleagues, I'd like to welcome the Capitalize Georgia Empowering Financial Future and Business Excellence Symposium. I know that they should be here somewhere up there. Dr. Jacqueline Mohair, Dr. Sonia Ham, and Dr. Doretha D. Dawkins Hagler will be presenting today. I think they went down. Are you all up there in the gallery anywhere? Okay.
I don't think so. I think they
Well,
must.
thank y'all very much for being here today, and you'll have to watch it on tape. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Good job. They need to see those comments. That was good. Representative Tran is recognized for a morning order. Representative Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have some amazing student leaders from the great city of Dunwoody, also known as the city of Funwoody and Dino-Woody. Will the student leaders from Dunwoody High School Youth City Council please stand? There they are. So thank you for coming out here to the Capitol. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Chairman Chokus. Thought you were qualifying or something. Chairman Chokus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my pleasure to welcome to the Capitol today the Georgia Association of School Psychologists. We've got about 20 of them. They may be in the gallery or they may be downstairs with the governor. Brandon Parks, who's the past president, is from the Chattahoochee-Flint RESA, which is down in my part of the country. And from the Gwinnett County Public Schools, we've got Tony West, who's the current president. So please welcome them to their Capitol, the Georgia Association of School Psychologists. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Marion's recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're celebrating today Vietnamese Day at the Capitol, and we have several of the members here today. So I would like for Representative Tran to make some remarks also as well for the Vietnamese community.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, it was 49 years ago when the Vietnam War ended, and the Vietnamese community of Georgia has made great strides. Their community organization, the Vietnamese American Community of Georgia, is celebrating their 30th year here in Georgia. And over the last 49 years in Georgia, we have seen them become farmers, doctors, teachers, truck drivers in every industry in Georgia. So let's give them a warm welcome for Vietnamese Day at the Capitol. Please stand. And congratulations to their president for finishing her final term as president of the Vietnamese Community of Georgia. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Members, we have a couple more morning orders, but I want to make an introduction and a recognition of my congressman, Congressman Rick Allen from the 12th Congressional District from down in Augusta, Georgia, Richmond County. Let's make the congressman welcome, if you will. Appreciate the job you're doing, Congressman. Thanks for representing us. Representative McCullum is recognized for a morning order. Representative Derek McCullum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to recognize, it's an honor to have C.W. Davis Middle School here visiting the Capitol and visiting the People's House today. I just wanted to recognize them and thank them for coming out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Adina is recognized for a morning order. And friends. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I'd like to recognize a visitor today all the way from the country of Equatorial Guinea in Central Africa. He is Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce. If you could please rise, Mr. Benjamin Avita Oma. The country for Equatorial Guinea is known for energy, oil and gas, and most interestingly, forestry. So they do a lot of timber. So he's looking forward to connect with Georgians in those areas, and hopefully we can do business. Welcome to Georgia. Thank you.
Members, if I can have your attention, we have a very special invite resolution. In fact, we have a couple of them. But to give your attention to the presenters and the resolution, Mr. Clerk, will you read a resolution, House Resolution 1026?
House Resolution 1026 by Representative Gamble of the 15th and Elowitz the 42nd, Kelly the 16th, Frye the 122nd, and Beverly the 143rd. A resolution commending Taiwan for its relations with the United States and the state of Georgia.
Well, we have co-chairs of two of our members who have done a great job bringing the issues from Taiwan to our attention and being great friends. And I appreciate Representative Matthew Gamble, Governor's Floor Leader, and Representative Terry Nulowitz. So I think you're going to go first, Chairman Gamble, to speak to the resolution.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, it's an honor to be able to recognize our distinguished guest today, Director General Elliot Wong from the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office here in Atlanta. And Representative Nulowitz and I co-chair our Taiwan caucus, which I know many of you are familiar with, and I'm going to let her share a few remarks about the resolution that we've done for them today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, colleagues. It is an honor to be here this morning to introduce our very good friends from the Taipei Economic and Cultural Development Office in Atlanta, particularly Director General Elliot Wong. The Taiwan Economic and Cultural Office, they sponsor consular services, commercial services, informational services, cultural services, exactly as an embassy would here in the United States Southeast. They service all of these things in Georgia and Alabama, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and they also offer a few of the services in the state of Florida. Since 1979, the United States' friendship with the nation of Taiwan has been very clear. They are a key partner economically. They are a relentless friend and supporter, as they were with during the COVID-19 pandemic, with the donations of personal protective equipment that was used throughout the United States of America and throughout the world. I am proud to be a co-chair of the Georgia-Taiwan Caucus along with Chairman Gamble. We at the Capitol here, I think many of you have taken advantage of the educational opportunities that we have here at the Capitol to hear from the Director General and to learn more about what the caucus is doing, to learn more about what the priorities are for Taiwan in Georgia. I hope you have been able to participate in cultural events like the Lunar New Year celebration that the office hosts in Gwinnett County. It is fantastic. And then I hope you've been able to take part in celebrations like Taiwan National Day, which was most recently celebrated at the Georgia Aquarium. That was important because the whale sharks that we have all enjoyed seeing at the Georgia Aquarium came to the United States from Taiwan. Director General Wong has been in Atlanta since 2020. He has been in the Foreign Service since 1998. He is a seasoned diplomat and has served in Washington, D.C. and Brussels. He has attended a range of universities, including programs at Harvard Kennedy School of Government and Oxford University. He has a degree in international relations, to which I can think is a wonderful thing to get a degree in. And it is my honor to welcome him to the Capitol here today. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Wow, what a privilege for me. I thought that I'm only allowed to speak over there, but now I'm standing here. So good morning, Mr. Speaker, esteemed House members, ladies and gentlemen. I know today is a big day because this is a Super Tuesday for your presidential election this year. Well, the United States, a beacon of hope and freedom, has long inspired people across the world, myself included. Today, I stand before you representing the people of Taiwan with a profound sense of privilege as we work hand in hand to advance. Georgia House Chamber has passed resolutions supporting Taiwan for 19 consecutive years since 2006. I think we do owe you a round of applause. And together with commitment to fostering Georgia-Taiwan relations by Taiwan Caucus, spanning party lines and both chambers, I wish to express my deepest appreciation. Taiwan has been dedicated to democracy, manifested in our successful presidential and legislative election on January. This success is more than a local triumph. It is a testament to the standing resilience against authoritarian influences that threaten global stability. In light of continued provocative actions by China, both before and after our election, from the frequent military intimidation, economic coercion, diplomatic battles, to the recent unilateral change of international flight routes and the forced inspection on Taiwan's domestic waters, but our domestic processes still prevailed. And this year marks the 45th anniversary of the Taiwan Relations Act. This act was passed by U.S. Congress back in 1979, strengthening close U.S.-Taiwan ties in security, business, education, and culture. As we celebrate what we have achieved together, this milestone also calls us to explore untapped possibility for future collaboration. Nowadays, the artificial intelligence is leading the fourth wave of industry revolution, and the most influential leaders are from Taiwan, including the founder of TSMC, those CEOs from NVIDIA, Supermicro Computer, and AMD, you name it. So I strongly propose a Georgia Trade Office in Taiwan, following your neighbors like South and North Carolinas and others. And I really admire that Georgia has been the top state for business for 10 years in a row. Yes, go Dogs. So to maintain your leading position, Taiwan stands out as an ideal collaborator, engaging with our electric vehicle and high-tech industry, opens doors to Taiwanese market and resources for Georgia, as the ongoing shift of Taiwanese business from China to the US accelerates realignment of global supply chain. Therefore, I want to recognize some Taiwanese entrepreneurs with us today in the gallery, whose contributions to Georgia are truly commendable in sectors such as IT, auto and airline industry, shipping and logistics, chain restaurants like Flying Biscuit, and more. So please stand up to receive our recognition. Please. Furthermore, I advocate an education cooperation with Taiwan, as other southeastern states like Kentucky, Alabama, and South Carolina have done, focusing on the promotion of Mandarin English teachers and student exchanges. This will better educate our next generation to be global citizens. I also like to recognize those leaders of Chinese language schools operated by Taiwanese community in Georgia. Please stand up, please. So once again, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for the enduring relationship between Taiwan and the Peach State, because all of you. I look forward to a continual cooperation, ensuring that Taiwan people always keep Georgia on their minds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Thank you, members. Thank you, Georgia House, for our continuing great relationship with Taiwan. We have another invite resolution. Representative Mathis. And our community supervision officers. Mr. Clerk, will you suspend just for a minute? Thank you, members. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Resolution 1094.
House Resolution 1094 by Representative Mathis, the 149th, a resolution recognizing and commending Community Supervision Officer Christopher Burke, the Department of Community Supervision 2023 Officer of the Year.
Representative Danny Mathis is recognized to speak to the resolution. Representative Mathis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members of the House. It is a great honor of mine to honor Mr. Christopher Burke, the Community Supervision Officer of the Year for the Department of Community Supervision. Officer Burke is joined here by his beautiful wife, Connie, DCS Commissioner Michael Nail, and Representative Mac Jackson, a retired Department of Community Service probation officer that had a little hand in training some of these folks, Mr. Speaker. So I'm glad he's up here with us today. The Burkes reside in Twiggs County, which is in my district. Officer Burke has served the state for 38 years and is currently a mental health officer in Middle Judicial Circuit. Officer Burke goes above and beyond to protect his community, and his dedication for helping those whose supervision is an example for his fellow officers. I thank you so much, Chris, for being here. If you'd like to say a few words, you can at this time.
I would like to just thank the state of Georgia for allowing me the opportunity to serve the great state of Georgia. I would like to thank my agency for letting me work with them. I'd like to thank Mr. Dell for his recognition of me. I'd like to thank my supervisors for putting me up for this recognition today. And God bless the state of Georgia.
Thanks, sir. I think we're going to take some pictures.
Congratulations. We're going to take a photo right there, Commissioner. Thank you for what you do, and this is a very important agency for the people of our state. We appreciate your mission, and we appreciate the hard work and cooperation, and this House continues to stand with you and work with you. So thank you for being here. Members will come to the floor. We're moving on to the rules calendar. Moving on to the rules calendar, Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to SB 332?
Senate Bill 332 by Senator Robertson, the 29th, Kennedy, the 18th, Gooch, the 51st, Hatch, the 50th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 151832 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to the Prosecuting Attorney's Qualifications Commission, authority, membership, ex parte communications, governance, disciplinary actions, and confidentiality. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary and Non-Civil, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Gullett, are you ready? Representative Gullett is recognized to present the bill.
Members, thank you. Thank you, Speaker. We've talked about this issue numerous times. I bet if we added up, we're probably over 10 hours of debate about this issue here on the House floor. SB 332, as I'm sure you all remember, SB 92 laid the groundwork by establishing the Prosecuting Attorneys Qualifications Commission. And like I told you last time, I'm pleased to report that the commission, the investigative panel, the hearing panel members are all in place. The standards and rules are established, and that commission is poised for action. And once this bill's passed, this commission will be able to begin the real work. That is bringing accountability to those rogue prosecuting attorneys who abuse their office, sexually harass their employees, and do not show up for work. That's reaffirming that our state's prosecuting attorneys will have the highest ethical standards to ensure that those in power in prosecuting cases are not above the law, but rather will uphold the law impartially and justly. And for many of you in this body, this commission will give you the confidence that each criminal case will be reviewed on its own merits rather than dismissed by a written memo that informs the public of specific laws that will not be enforced in areas of the state. Back in November of last year, the state Supreme Court declined to review the rules for the investigative and hearing panels, which has stalled out the ability of the commission to review complaints. So to address this issue, we have removed the requirement that the standards and rules of the commission be reviewed and adopted by the Supreme Court. In the bill, that's lines 16 and 17. That's identical to what we did in the previous bill, House Bill 881, that was passed just a few weeks ago. Colleagues, this commission needs to get to work. We've legislated, we've created it, that's passed. I'm sure the arguments you're here today is not about what this legislation is doing, but about the commission as a whole. To me, the commission is settled. It's there. It's established. It's ready to work. Let's come together. Let's pass this bill. Let's let the commission do their work. And like we've said before, this is not a Republican-Democrat issue. It's a Republican and Democrat issue. There are prosecutors across the state, both Republican and Democrat, who have let their constituents down. They represent the state, and since we legislate for the state, we are addressing that issue that our constituents have asked. Again, Republican and Democrat. Even so much so, I know we've had debate before talking about issues of the past that they weren't addressed. I can't say I was here to address those issues because I wasn't. But now that I'm here to address those issues. We're going to have prosecutors in the state enforcing the law. We're going to have prosecutors in the state looking at each law on a case-by-case basis. And that's all we can ask them to do. Mr. Speaker, I know it's been heavily debated many hours on this floor. And so with that, I'll move us along and answer any questions and get out of this well.
Gentleman has a couple of questions. If you'll yield.
I will.
Representative Bernal to your left has a question. Representative Bernal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
I have two questions. First one, can you give me what your definition of rogue is related to prosecutors?
Yeah, rogue are the ones that are not abiding by the law. They believe they're outside the law and not abiding by the law.
Okay, thank you. And I have one more question. Will you
Sure,
yield?
I do.
What is the percentage of prosecutors that are rogue, based on your definition, that are not following the law, that we would have to have legislation and have a commission to monitor them?
So I think throughout the time, members of your party have actually dropped bills in the past to create a prosecutor oversight commission. So at that time, I believe that you guys believed that they were rogue prosecutors. I believe Glenn County was a rogue prosecutor, not doing what she should be doing at the time, during the Ahmaud Arbery days. That's a rogue prosecutor. I believe my county, Paulding County, we had a district attorney repeatedly sexually harassing members of his staff. This is what to address. This is to address Glenn County. This is to address Athens, Clark County, when you have a district attorney writing a day one memo saying, I'm not going to prosecute these cases, posting it on the wall to the members of the community. That's a problem. That's rogue in my mind.
Would you yield for one more question?
Third question, I will.
Okay. I noticed that you're giving our party credit. However, the bill that Representative Scott had at that time for Ahmaud Arbery never received a hearing. So, while you're saying that we believe that, yes, we probably did at that time. However, we were not given an opportunity to legislate our bill. Thank you.
My response would be, was there a problem during the Ahmaud Arbery? I think we can all agree Glenn County was a problem. Ahmaud Arbery issue was a problem. And so for members to sit here and say, well, it's not a problem. That problem can still exist. We didn't change anything. How can that problem not exist? This will address that problem for happening in the future. And so I believe that that's what you guys wanted, and that's what we're doing now. So thank you for the question.
Gentleman, yield.
I do.
Whip Park to your left has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
I appreciate your mention of this being a bipartisan issue. Is it not true that there were multiple opportunities to amend this bill and improve upon the existing commission by ensuring that there would either be bipartisan oversight or nonpartisan oversight?
I think there's plenty of opportunities to do all kinds of things, but I will say that the bill that Democrats have dropped 3 times didn't do that. And so now, all of a sudden, that's a problem for you guys. That's an interesting perspective.
Does the gentleman yield further? Is it not true that you just said in your previous remarks that you're going to be talking to this specific bill, and so we're not debating previous pieces of legislation regarding this issue, but this bill with that we have in front of us?
Sure, let's talk about it. Let's talk about striking the Supreme Court piece out of it. Sure.
Sure, and again, is it not true that there were multiple opportunities to ensure that there was bipartisan or nonpartisan oversight to alleviate concerns that this mechanism is being used for hyper-partisan purposes, as we've seen after it was enacted last year?
I would say there's plenty of opportunity to always amend a bill, but what I will say is you guys had 3 bills to do this, and none of those did what you're asking me to do now. That's an interesting take on it, so I appreciate the question.
Thank you.
Sure. I'll take one more.
Here we have dueling whips. Whip Burchett is recognized for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Thank you for bringing the bill. I just want to bring us back home to the 4 corners of the document. Does your bill constitute a commission?
No, the commission's already created.
All right. Does your bill set up a nonpartisan or bipartisan or any type of commission?
Already created.
Very good. And as I read your bill, it's a 1-page bill, and it only does one thing, and it strikes some language on 16 and 17 that would require the Supreme Court to review the rules before they become effective. Is that true?
100% true.
All right. And is it not true, as you alluded to, is justice blind?
Justice should be blind, absolutely.
Justice should be blind. Very good. One more question, Mr. Speaker. if it's a good idea in 2020, then it would be a good idea in 2021 and 22 and 23. Would you agree with that?
100%, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I know we've debated a long time. I'm sure there's plenty of speakers to talk about the bill, and maybe I'll have an opportunity to come and wrap things up, but I urge your favorable consideration. This is something that the commission is there. It's working. It's ready to work. Let's let them do their work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Gentleman's yielded the well, and he is very wise. We do have other speakers on the bill. In the wisdom of the Rules Committee, pursuant to House Rule 33.3, we have limited the debate to 1 hour and 40 minutes, 30 minutes for those opposed, 30 minutes in favor, 20 minutes for minority report, and 20 minutes for the chair's time. So at this time, the chair will recognize Representative Stacey Evans to speak to the bill. Representative Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, colleagues. I rise again in opposition to the idea, and specifically Senate Bill 332. And while there's not a lot I can share today that hasn't been shared already, I didn't want to break my perfect streak of taking every opportunity there is to speak against this idea, and specifically Senate Bill 332. But before I do, a friend and colleague this morning handed me a little encouragement, and I thought some of my friends in this chamber would appreciate. God, grant me the courage not to give up on what I think is right, even though I think it is hopeless. I rise to oppose Senate Bill 332, and for those of you that are considering a yes vote or who have already decided that you will be voting yes, my simple message to you is, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you really sure? And this is inspired by a visitor I have with me today. She's going to kill me, but my daughter Ashley is here with me today. She is on spring break, so we don't get the beach, but she gets the Capitol. And she will tell you that that is the word. If you were to ask her, what does my mom say? Are you sure? Ashley, get your jacket. I don't need a jacket. Are you sure? Ashley, are you hungry? Do you want to get a snack? No, I'm fine. Are you sure? Do we need to go by this store? No, Mom, it's fine. Are you sure? Are you sure? And I know that we've heard this morning, this is not about creating the commission. The commission's already created. But right now, without rules, there is no commission. So yes, maybe somewhere in code, just like a lot of things, there are some words that create a commission, but it cannot work unless you say yes to Senate Bill 332 and the governor ultimately puts his signature on it. So yes, I understand that the basics of the commission are in code, but they do not work. So yes, we are, ladies and gentlemen, creating a commission. And so I ask you, are you sure? Because really what we're doing is creating a mechanism for those district attorneys who are already very watched, we've talked about this, watched by judges, watched by the voters, watched by the state bar because they're all lawyers. They're already watched. They're already going to be called to account. But this body now wants to also watch them in case we, in our infinite wisdom and all our prosecutorial experience in this room, which I would guess is very little, in case we want to question the priorities of the district attorney. And so are you sure? Because right now, the district attorneys that you may want to bring in front of the commission because you don't agree with their priorities, tomorrow they will be different district attorneys. And there will be a different group of folks in charge in here who might disagree with those priorities and might want to bring those already watched district attorneys before an oversight commission. So I just ask you, are you sure? Because the little encouragement that I read to you, God granting me courage not to give up on what I think is right, even though I think it is hopeless, will not always be true for those with a D beside their name. And I know it may be a little while, but y'all know it's gonna happen. It just is. So are you sure? The last thing I'll say is, We are, yes, here today, if we pass this bill, creating an oversight commission. And we are creating an oversight commission with no oversight. We thought, or those that voted for this idea last time around, thought that it was important that the standards and rules for the commission be reviewed by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court didn't disagree that perhaps there should be oversight of this commission, this unelected commission to oversee elected district attorneys, but they said we can't do it because separation of powers. That bothers at least one branch of the government. It may not bother this one. They said we can't do it, but they didn't say no one should. They didn't say no one else could. We could have, the writers of this bill could have said, okay, so the Supreme Court can't oversee the rules and procedures, but how about the state bar? Or how about PAC? There's any number of checks that we could have put in place, but instead of, I guess, taking another risk that there might be a neutral, fair body like the state bar or PAC that might have created rules that we didn't like, we just said no rules. I'm not sure that is the right message to be sending to the state of Georgia, and I definitely do not think it is good policy. And so I urge you to think again, are you sure? And please vote no on Senate Bill 332. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will.
The lady is yielded the will. Representative Scott Reeves is Matt Reeves. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's Scott Hilton. Representative Matt Reeves over here is recognized to speak to the bill. He did have the chaplain of the day today, and he was on my mind. Representative Matt Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been called much worse.
You have.
Senate Bill 332, the Prosecuting Attorney Oversight Council's rules adoption is one of the shortest bills you're going to vote on this session. There are 19 words that are changed from the last version that you voted upon. It's been carefully vetted by the House Judiciary Non-Civil Committee, and it says once again that no one is above the law when it comes to prosecution in Georgia. Previously, we've looked at the fact that in Florida, the governor removes prosecutors. That happened recently, and the courts upheld that. That's not what Georgia is doing here. We have a process that we are enacting that is similar to our Judicial Qualifications Commission, which has worked well. We also have impeachment. That is not something that would be attractive to do, and it hasn't been done in many decades. In previous hearings on this subject, some people said, let the State Bar of Georgia handle it, yet the State Bar responded, they're just not equipped to handle situations like this of prosecutors who are saying they are not going to prosecute entire sections of the Georgia Code. Since we discussed this issue last, we are all very familiar with the tragedy in Athens and many other terrible crimes that are happening in areas where there have been deliberate decisions to ignore entire sections of the Georgia Code. So it's high time to act now to do the final step in implementing this Prosecutorial Oversight Commission to scrutinize flagrant dereliction of duties by rogue prosecutors. There was a good question earlier about how many is it? We've got about 50 DAs in Georgia, 50 circuits. There are only a handful or less who are saying, I'm choosing not to handle entire sections of the code. So this would be a narrow and limited focus of this bill. And in Georgia, we can't afford to have any judicial circuits that are not enforcing the law for the sake of public safety. People deserve to be safe in their homes and neighborhoods, to be safe in their businesses, to be safe out in public parks, in their communities. And this Prosecutorial Oversight Commission and the rules that we are adopting today through this 19-word change will do just that and provide checks and balances and accountability when you have DAs who decide to go soft on crime for partisan reasons. We need to have professional and nonpartisan DAs who are enforcing the law for the sake of public safety and not being soft on crime in entire areas of the Georgia Code. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield the well.
The gentleman's yielded the well. Representative Hilton was smiling when I got him mixed up with you, so I was half wrong anyway, so we'll leave it at that. Representative Houston Gaines is recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know we've already heard from several that have emphasized how many times we've debated this issue, and like Representative Evans, I think I've felt obligated to come back up and present one more time to discuss the importance of this issue because it is time to put the debate to rest, because our constituents are desperate for a path to hold district attorneys who aren't doing their jobs accountable. Our constituents can't wait any longer. Every time I've been before you on this topic, I've had new information to report about my district attorney in the Western Judicial Circuit. Last time I talked about victims' families, how I've had the chance to visit with multiple parents of young people who have been tragically killed in our community, those families have not been able to get justice for their loved ones. Certainly over the last couple of weeks with the tragedy that happened to Lake and Riley in our community, that's highlighted our district attorney's issues in that office nationally. And we also have seen some of her decisions that she said on day one in her first day memo. You've heard a little reference to that, but in particular related to the Lake and Riley case. On day one, our district attorney said she would never seek the death penalty. On day one, our district attorney said that when charging individuals who are here illegally, that she would take into account the collateral consequences to undocumented defendants. Those sort of statements and policies are unacceptable. I'm glad that in that particular case that the DA has allowed the Prosecuting Attorney's Council to handle the case, and Sheila Ross, who will be prosecuting it, as I understand, is an individual who is more than ready to take on this case. But it shows that even Gonzalez knows she wasn't up for this task when she has to outsource this case to the Prosecuting Attorney's Council. The reality is the office has routinely failed to convict violent criminals. In fact, Deborah Gonzalez, this is an amazing statistic, Deborah Gonzalez, as district attorney, has lost every single case she's personally tried. Zero. She's won 0 cases as DA that she's personally tried. That includes murder and rape cases in our community. She's lost every single one. Every single one. And I'll give you just some new information because we've debated this. I've talked about my DA multiple times up here, but some information that came out last week and some new details that I think are important just to show you the lack of justice that's being seen in the Western Judicial Circuit. There was a case last year that Deborah Gonzalez dropped against an individual who had raped a 14-year-old. She dropped this case. It was the first time in our state's history there had been a violation of Marsy's law. First time in state history where a district attorney had failed to uphold what we passed several years ago in Marsy's law to ensure victims of crime have their day to be heard in court. Deborah Gonzalez dropped that case against somebody who, again, raped a 14-year-old. Fortunately, that case was able to be re-indicted by another district attorney, Randy McGinley, who represents Walton County just next door. McGinley took the case to trial, 4-day trial, got a jury verdict within 45 minutes. Within 45 minutes, guilty on all counts, a life sentence plus 50 years for rape and multiple other charges. This was somebody that Deborah Gonzalez had dismissed those charges just a year ago. And thank goodness for Randy McGinley to come in and prosecute the case. But how many other victims' cases have not been reopened? How many other victims' cases won't be prosecuted? How many victims of crime won't see their day to have justice in court? Because you have district attorneys like Deborah Gonzalez who have no clue how to do their job or failing victims across this state. And that's what SB 332 will address by getting the Prosecuting Attorneys Qualifications Commission up and running immediately. And as soon as this body passes today, it heads to the governor's desk. And I'm very thankful for Representative Gullett, Senator Robertson, and so many others who've worked tirelessly on this issue for years to get this bill to the governor's desk and get the commission up and running. Mr. Speaker, I ask for the body's favorable consideration of SB 332, and I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair has none. The previous question is ordered. We'll move on now to the minority report. Whip Park is recognized for up to 20 minutes, Mr. Whip, to present the minority report. Whip Park.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I have an exhibit.
It's coming up now, sir. Yes.
Thank you. And if you could zoom in, if it's possible, to zoom in on the highlighted section. The exhibit that y'all see, this is the first page of the Georgia Supreme Court's order on this Prosecuting Attorneys Qualification Commission. And I'll get to that in a minute, but I'll leave that up if that's all right. So to begin my remarks, in opposition to Senate Bill 332, I do want to address some of the comments made by members of the majority party. First and foremost, yes, this is a short bill, but one with dangerous implications. This is also a short and simple bill that was rammed through the legislative process on party lines, regardless of however you may want to characterize it as being well vetted in a committee process. Two, I don't think this bill provides accountability and certainly not checks and balances. If this bill actually provided checks and balances for this new commission, it would not have bypassed the Georgia Supreme Court, a body of nonpartisan elected officials, to approve the standards and rules that would otherwise govern this very important and powerful commission that has the ability to remove duly elected district attorneys. Now, if you want to ensure that Georgians have the ability to hold district attorneys accountable, I would recommend, and certainly I think my Democratic colleagues would agree with the recommendation, to stop making it more difficult for Georgians to vote. Now, per the remarks of one of the speakers, I would perhaps recommend that he run for district attorney, given some of the concerns that he has with his district attorney. Now, the district attorney that was mentioned by name, like all of us here in this body, will be held accountable by the people of Georgia this November. I trust Georgia voters to vote in their best interest and to vote to move this state forward without the need of a hyper-partisan commission that will be controlled by Republican elected officials, any which way that you want to argue this, and certainly based on how this commission has proceeded after it was first enacted last year. Now, there's a lot of concern with this commission from a prosecutor's perspective, in which, despite the challenges that they're having, despite however many arrests there may be in the state of Georgia, it's prosecutors who are needed to actually convict and put violent criminals away. There's always one or two bad apples in a barrel, but passing this bill as opposed to additional funding and additional support for our district attorneys undermines them. It demonstrates and sends a message to our district attorneys across the state that we as legislators do not have their back, and it casts aspersions on all district attorneys, I think to the detriment of the intent of this bill. There have also been concerns raised about this bill that it lacks due process for district attorneys, which I think is also part of litigation against this bill, trying to strike it down as unconstitutional. Let's be clear on this bill. Each state representative that votes in favor of SB 332 is voting to allow unelected partisan agents to oversee and obstruct decisions handed down by district attorneys that have prosecutorial discretion. District attorneys are duly elected by the Georgia voters they represent, and this bill will undo and undermine the will of Georgia voters. So again, this is a partisan attempt to control and discipline prosecutors who hand down decisions that politicians, Republican politicians, do not like. This bill creates an unreviewable disciplinary process susceptible to abuse. Under current law, and y'all can see what current law is, The Supreme Court of Georgia, a nonpartisan elected body, is supposed to review and approve the standards and rules for this new commission. It was mentioned in the Rules Committee by the Senate author of this bill, along with a member of the Rules Committee, that it was the Georgia Supreme Court that was sending a signal that this is the bill that they wanted to be removed from this entire process. As an exhibit, the very first page of the order from the Georgia Supreme Court, they made clear that if Georgia law, which we could do in this bill, if we mandated them to approve the draft standards and rules, they would then decide whether or not that was constitutional. They would be obligated to comply. However, what the majority party has decided to do, instead of try to ensure some nonpartisan oversight, instead, this bill, the lines struck out on lines 16 and 17, would bypass the Georgia Supreme Court. By doing so, it would clear a path for partisan, unelected Prosecuting Attorney Qualifications Commission to terminate district attorneys that don't align with their politics. This bill enables partisan grievance politics, period. Members of this body, regardless of your political affiliation, we have and we should continue to do everything in our power to improve the lives of Georgians, not finding new and creative ways to protect twice impeached former President Donald Trump from criminal investigation, which is what this bill would do. Again, voting for this bill is voting to allow unelected partisan agents to oversee and obstruct decisions handed down by district attorneys that were duly elected by Georgia voters. This is unfortunate and unacceptable. This bill undermines the voices of Georgians by targeting district attorneys, again, based on political affiliation. I think, again, to get a clear example of the purpose of this mechanism, especially for members of the public who are watching this debate, what were the first actions taken when this commission was passed? Within hours of this commission being signed into law, a partisan member of the majority party on the Senate side, who has the ability to appoint people to this commission, filed a complaint against District Attorney Fani Willis. As far as I can tell, the only crime that District Attorney Fani Willis has committed is her effectiveness and competence as a black woman trying to uphold the laws in Fulton County and the state of Georgia. So again, this is a bad piece of legislation. It undermines the will of Georgia voters. It creates and sows mistrust, distrust in prosecutors across the state of Georgia. It does not have due process for district attorneys who are subject to the provisions of this bill. And more likely than not, if this bill passes and is signed into law, it will be used to, again, undermine the ongoing criminal prosecution of twice impeached President Donald Trump. For all those reasons, I urge members in this body on both sides of the aisle to vote no to SB 332. With that, Mr. Speaker, I will yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. We'll now move on to chair's time. Chairman Tyler Paul Smith is recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to yield a portion of my time to the Majority Leader, Representative F. Strachan.
Leader F. Strachan is recognized to speak to the bill.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Chairman Smith, for yielding some of your time to me to speak on this issue. I believe several of the members who have been in the well recently said that they've spoke on all the previous times when this issue has been before the House. And I will just tell you, I was not one of the speakers when this issue was before us earlier this session. You know, I have sat there and really been shocked by the blatant politicization, the blatant partisanship that we see from Democrats on this issue to obscure us from the truth, to try to prevent members of this House from truly knowing the history that's brought us to this point. And I think that that's unfortunate, and it's time we set the record straight. This issue came about back in 2020. You know, at the time, the Georgia House had led passing the hate crimes law. We passed a bill that went over to the Senate and it sat. We came back for the 2020 legislative session. I remember because I was a sponsor, was asking the Senate to vote our bill, and then we had the pandemic hit in mid-March, and we broke. We took all that time off. And it was while we were out of session due to the pandemic that horrific video of Ahmaud Arbery's murder was made public. And we all saw it in media reports. We were shocked. We were disgusted. We wanted to take action. And I remember at that time, when we were in recess due to the pandemic, having a call with a lawyer for the Southern Center for Human Rights. A lawyer here who had bipartisan respect and who cared about civil justice issues, criminal justice issues here in the state capitol. And we discussed the pending hate crimes bill, and we discussed that that did not go far enough to address the horrors that we had seen on the Ahmaud Arbery video. And what we concluded on that call was that, number one, we needed to pass the hate crimes bill. Number two, Georgia needed to be the first state in the nation to repeal the citizens arrest law. And number three, we needed a prosecutor oversight bill. It was those three things we agreed upon. It shocks me that there has been such a distortion of this issue by Democrats that have obscured the truth here, which is that this was a bipartisan legislative agenda to ensure that all Georgians felt that they could rely on the justice system. And an acknowledgement that as we all talk about the rule of law, the importance of the rule of law, that extends to the enforcement of that law. You cannot have prosecutors setting their own rules, setting their own standards, taking what we do here at the state capitol, laws that we pass, throwing them out, ignoring them, or even worse, in cases of corruption or incompetence, not doing their job and harming Georgia's citizens. So what did we do? This House and the General Assembly followed that path, that bipartisan path. And I would love to see media coverage talking about this history because it's well known that this is what occurred. The General Assembly passed a hate crimes bill in 2020, as soon as we got back in the summertime. The next session, 2021, Representative Burt Reeves, as a floor leader, introduced a bill to repeal citizens' arrest. And yes, Georgia became the first state of 50 states to repeal citizens' arrest, following that bipartisan agenda to get that done. And it is true, as has been mentioned, Representative William Bodie, who served as whip of the Minority Caucus, introduced a bill, House Bill 143 in 2021, which would have created a DA oversight commission. Now, to say, well, that bill didn't get a hearing or that bill didn't move is really bordering on disingenuous. If you consider that the House was passing a repeal of the citizens arrest law at the time, and the legislation as introduced only would have regulated DAs, not mentioning solicitors, and only had a half solution to this very complex problem, to say that, oh, well, that was different, that bill was different. Yeah, that bill was incomplete. And it just so happened that in 21-22, Representative Joseph Gullett had a real problem with the DA in his judicial circuit. A DA who had been accused of sexual harassment within the office, and concerns, as he detailed in his presentation today and previously, concerns that nothing could be done about it, because unless an indictment could be sought and the procedure followed to remove an elected DA from office, that there was no remedy for the residents of the judicial circuit. What are they to do? Speaker just today said, well, that's what elections are for. Oh, great. So you have to live under a corrupt or incompetent DA until the next election rolls around? Just crimes are not going to be prosecuted, or that office, which is an incredibly powerful office, is going to be used for an illegal means until the next election? That's not a solution. That's obscuring this issue. That's preventing this House from getting to the truth of the matter here, which is this is necessary. Just as we have a JQC for judges, if you have elected DAs or solicitors who are using their office for improper purposes, they need to be out. And there needs to be a process to see that through. And claiming, oh, well, the state bar should take that over, right? That's not the function of the State Bar of Georgia, first of all. And secondly, with the amount of time required for a review by an unelected body, that is not a legitimate solution to put forward. The State Bar does not disbar individuals for acting in their prosecutorial capacity or failing to act in their prosecutorial capacity. Lawyers in this room know that. To talk about impeachment, so what, there's going to be a special session called because a DA is acting improperly, illegally in office, when a commission would be a much better means to investigate the allegations, get to the bottom of what's going on, and have the ability to remove. I submit to you that the way this narrative has taken such an unbelievable turn is unfortunate, because this House has a history of coming together to stand up to do the right thing, and we showed that with hate crimes, we showed that with the repeal of citizen's arrest, and then suddenly this issue appears, and it's become blatantly political by Democrats. And that is unfortunate. I mean, just today, member who's my good friend, who we serve in the same Gwinnett County, as members of the Gwinnett County delegation, said here that this has to do with some specific case, that this has to do with elections. Nothing could be further from the truth. You want to know the history here? Look at the legislative website. Representative Gullett had legislation on this years ago that he was working to pass. This House passed legislation over to the Senate. It didn't get voted in the Senate. Back the next year to pass a bill. And this Supreme Court opinion that's been discussed, one of the speakers here today said very few members of the House have prosecutorial experience. Well, that may be true. But I do have prosecutorial experience. I served as an assistant DA in my home circuit. I prosecuted cases. I watched the elected DA work. And I understand the responsibilities and obligations that follow that important office. I also know the importance to the citizens of the judicial circuit, because I've looked crime victims in the eyes. I've seen how they're depending on the prosecuting attorney to see the case through, to do so fairly and effectively, to advance the principles of justice, and to ensure that criminal laws in Georgia are enforced. And for years, the discussion debate had been around, for years there was no discussion, certainly in my mind, that I as a prosecuting attorney was a member of the judicial branch. And this opinion that's been cited to here today has asked us to review that effectively, to bring this issue back in a different form so that there's no ambiguity about that. And that's exactly what Senate Bill 332 is doing here today. We're removing that ambiguity so that this commission can begin to act, can begin to work to serve Georgians. Let's put the politics aside. Let's end the blatant partisanship. the divisiveness that's unnecessary and is not in keeping with the traditions of this House. Let's stand up for all Georgians here today, not make this a political issue, because it isn't. And let's ensure that Georgians know that if their prosecuting attorneys are not doing their jobs, are not following the law, are putting themselves above the law, are failing to meet the standards that are required of the chief law enforcement officer within a circuit, that they can be held accountable. Mr. Speaker, with that, I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded well. Chairman Smith, for the remainder of the chairman's time, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to everybody who's been here to listen in on this debate. Thank you to the members of the opposition to this bill. And Mr. Speaker, it occurs to me, this is election year, if you couldn't tell from downstairs, but that being so, I want to direct everybody's attention to paragraph 2 of section 2 of our state's constitution. If you got your little booklet there, it should be on page 5. Origin and structure of government. Read all of it, but I want to point out to you paragraph 2, the object of government. I'll read it as follows. The people of this state have the inherent right of regulating their internal government. Government is instituted for the protection, security, and benefit of the people. And at all times, they have the right to alter or reform the same whenever the public good may require it. Mr. Speaker, I was taught that you don't give air or light to debacles that go on in this state. I'm not going to address what's going on across the road because I truly believe that it does not have anything to do with what we have here. I see this in my practice as a criminal defense lawyer. In my advocacy in protecting people's Bill of Rights, unfortunately, in some parts of the state, I have to have prepared what is called a Batson motion. Batson versus Kentucky. That is dealing with racial discrimination in jury composition. I have to have that ready because although they may be all the well too careful and not admitting to racial discrimination in jury selection, you see the results of it. I have to have that ready to go, so just take that out of your mind that this has anything to do about race. The composition of this commission that we have created gives us appointments to the commission by the Speaker, Lieutenant Governor, and the Governor. That is a Republican form of government that has been with us since the institution of our Constitution here in the United States as a whole. We model our same Constitution after that very principle. I will point out, if you're so concerned about being bipartisan with this, if you're so concerned about it, it's not just about what's going on in Athens. It's not just what's going on in Atlanta. It's not what's just going on in Glenn County or what's going on over in Columbus. We have prosecutors that are not taking advantage of the felony murder statute to go after those who are selling fentanyl that are killing our citizens. Why have you not got aggravated about that yet? This process does not circumvent our impeachment processes. It's interesting that I've heard impeachment mentioned before. Well, if the party of Jackson's evidently just jihading with this whole impeachment deal, why have none of you introduced these articles? And so that would be what I would challenge all of y'all. If you're so bent on supporting that part of our Constitution, which many of us do too, why won't you come and help us? This commission and this legislation specifically is in response to that Supreme Court decision dated November the 22nd of 2023. Yes, there was a lot of excess language in there according to lay people, but if you truly read it, it mentions that they do not have the power to authorize these rules. Now, this is a power that is given by statute to this commission under the executive branch of government. And so I would implore each and every one of you to read what the bill actually does. I've been a little surprised at how long this debate has went on, Mr. Speaker, because when we passed this out of committee, there was not too much debate or discussion over it. I remember there was on the first bill, but not much with this. And so, Mr. Speaker, it clearly seems to me that it's election year. You got to get your sound bite in, go home and, you know, rattle your saber. I get it. But this commission, and by us passing this legislation, will allow us to hold district attorneys across this state accountable for their actions in not prosecuting those that deal fentanyl and kill our citizens, those that don't seek murder charges against killers, and those that just simply because they think, due to their education, wherever they went, that they buy in that, oh, we shouldn't prosecute this law. Well, you know what? That's not your determination to make. This General Assembly passes laws each and every year for, again, what I will read to you, which is what is the object of government. For the good order of this state, for the welfare of this state, this commission going forward will help ensure that our legislative aims are carried out and that the law and justice is served in our state. With that, Mr. Speaker, I ask this body's considerable consideration and yes vote on Senate Bill 332. Thank you. I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. That completes our minority report and our chairman's time. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair has done. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purpose is Representative Bernal rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that we should be referred to as representatives and not you guys?
I think we are representatives. I didn't hear the you guys, but I don't hear it all. For what purpose does Whip Park rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry, sir.
Is it not true that while understanding legislative history is important, that actions speak louder than words, and the actions taken by Republicans make clear how this commission is being weaponized for partisan purposes?
I'm sure that's the gentleman's opinion. For what purpose does Whip Burchett rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true the Georgia Constitution is the highest law on the land here in Georgia?
I think that's widely held to be true.
Further parliamentary inquiry.
State that inquiry.
Isn't it true in Section 8, Paragraph 2, the words of our Constitution say, as it pertains to district attorneys, discipline, removal, and involuntary retirement of district attorneys. Any district attorney may be disciplined, removed, or involuntarily retired as provided by general law. And isn't this a general law?
I think the gentleman is well read and knows of what he speaks. For what purpose does Representative Wilkerson rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry, sir.
Is it not true that some of the speakers indicated that we need this bill because of the speed in which we can remove rogue prosecutors? However, is it not further true that an appeals court judge in March of 2020 was accused of malpractice, and it took until 2023 before they were removed, which seems like you might have had an election in between then, that this bill does not speed up the process. It can just cause contention among this body.
I'm sure the gentleman believes what he speaks. For what purpose does Representative Townsend rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true the DA in Glenn County actually supports this bill and has testified previously in support of this bill?
Yes, I'm sure the gentleman is accurate for what he speaks. For what purpose does Representative Trey Kelly, rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry, sir.
Mr. Speaker, isn't it true that while we've had reference to the state bar having the ability to discipline district attorneys, I'm not aware of the state bar ever taking disciplinary action against a district attorney?
As a learned member of that profession, I'm sure you watch that closely and know of what you speak. For what purpose does Representative Howard rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry, sir.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that there are Republican and Democratic-leaning district attorneys opposing this bill?
I'm sure there's a lot of leaning out there, Representative, and I'm sure you've heard some of that. Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 332. The yeas are 97, the nays are 73. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 375?
Senate Bill 375 by Senator Strickland, the 17th, Jackson, the 41st, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, and others, be titled an act to amend Code Section 3724 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to Behavioral Health Coordinating Council membership, meetings, and obligations. This bill having referred to the Committee on Public and Community Health. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Mr. Clerk, thank you for correcting my speech. I forgot the Senate was working over there the last week or so, they have passed a couple of bills. Senate Bill 375. My apologies, members. Representative Washburn is recognized to present Senate Bill 375.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen in the House. I come to the well to present Senate Bill 375 of Senator Strickland of the 17th. This is a simple bill. It adds the Commissioner of Veteran Service to the Behavioral Health Coordinating Council. The only other changes are that it changes the reference to the Lieutenant Governor to President of the Senate in two places. That is the bill, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield for any questions.
The gentleman has no questions.
Thank you. I urge your favorable consideration of this bill, and I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 375, the yeas are 167, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to Senate Bill 443? 443.
Senate Bill 443 by Senator Watson of the 1st, Strickland of the 17th, Tillery of the 19th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2, Title 41 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to the abatement of nuisances generally, so as to provide for inclusion of claims against promoters and organizers for costs incurred by local governments. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary and Non-Civil, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Petrie is recognized to present Senate Bill 443. Representative Petrie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I bring you Senate Bill today 443, Senator Ben Watson, my senator. And this bill very simply addresses a recurring problem in certain jurisdictions where individuals promote and organize unpermitted events in local jurisdictions and create public nuisances which require an expensive burden on local government in providing public safety, supplemental law enforcement, sanitation, traffic control, fire services, EMT, paramedic services, all of these things when they circumvent the permitted process. So the permitted process is there. They choose not to do that. These are similar to some of the issues we dealt with the drag racing, where it was organizers and promoters of unpermitted events were bringing these together. And so similar to that bill, we're creating here an opportunity for, this bill simply allows local governing authority to file a public nuisance claim against those promoters and organizers to recover the expenses incurred by them associated with all of those public safety costs. The hope is that all groups will simply seek a permit, as most do, encourage them to go through the permitted process so that local government can ensure that all the public safety preparations are made in advance. Mr. Speaker, that very simply is what this measure does. I'm glad to answer a question or so if necessary. Bill passed.
Gentleman has a couple of questions if you'll yield.
Yes, sir. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Jasmine Clark to your left has a question. Representative Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am. I yield.
So can you explain to me why local government couldn't already do this? I'm just curious as to why.
Yes. Thank you, Representative. Good question. So right now there is a claim for individuals. Individuals have a path, but local government does not have a path, and that's what this bill creates. Is a path for a representative local government to seek damages civilly through this public nuisance complaint.
Thank you.
Thank you for the good question.
Representative Angela Moore to your left has a question. If the gentleman will yield.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you,
Yes, I
Mr.
yield.
Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am. I yield.
In your bill, is there a certain size? Because there's a size of an organization, or is it all organizations?
No, yes, ma'am. So the size of the event isn't mentioned because, again, different municipalities have different capacity. They have different room. They have different space. They have different resources. So if someone chooses to seek to have an event in an unpermitted fashion, I think it depends on this is all about the burden that it creates for that particular locality.
But
so it
does
doesn't
it
relate to
specify
size in the aggregate.
So if the parents wanted to sell jelly or jam for a school to raise money for uniforms, and it's a very small event, they'd have to pull a.
No, ma'am. No,
Okay.
that's not. That's not what's what we're
that
seeking
would be
to
an
do.
event.
We're dealing here with remember, the statute is around public nuisances, so it has to be. You're talking about a situation that creates a real burden on traffic control, on public safety, all the things I mentioned before, law enforcement, where they have to hire ancillary enforcement. We've had some events where they had to fly Narcan in from because they couldn't get to sites because of the traffic congestion for overdoses, things of this nature. There's a lot of public safety concerns, and that's what we're talking about here, not reasonable, appropriate events that happen all day, every day.
But does the bill?
Thank you for the good question.
Does the bill explain what reasonable and appropriate is?
The bill speaks to public nuisances, and there's a definition of that, Representative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentleman has someone who would like to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Representative Scott Hilton is recognized to speak to the bill. Representative Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to speak real quickly, bring it home for us here in Atlanta. Georgia is host to one of the largest 10Ks in the world, the Peachtree Road Race. Imagine if the Peachtree Road Race promoted the event, held the event. It's about 50,000 runners and spectators, upwards of about 100,000 people. Imagine they did all that, but they didn't let the city of Atlanta know. They didn't bring the police down there. They didn't have porta potties. They didn't have EMS. Imagine the burden that would place on our local governing authority. And so that's what this bill seeks to address. I know there was an issue in Tybee Island specifically that drew the attention of this bill. And so I think it's a good bill, worthy of consideration, and helps stave off an issue that we're having in some of our local counties. So appreciate your favorable consideration.
Gentlemen, yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. Report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? For what purpose does Representative Miller rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry, ma'am.
Mr. Speaker, with the lack of definition in this bill of organizer and promoter, is there any concern that an individual citizen who is in support of a demonstration might be targeted even though they are not considered an organizer or a promoter?
I would trust our public safety professionals to make that determination, but it's a good question. For what purpose does Representative Carter rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that the city of Stonecrest has to endure extended costs because of unpermitted parties that have happened, that they publicized months and months in advance, and the city has had the better burden of finding those people to shut that down? Is that not true?
I'm sure the lady understands a lot of things about Stonebridge, and I'm sure the lady knows of what she speaks. For what purpose does Representative Jasmine Clark rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that I wanted to clarify with the sponsor that this would not in any way harm or stop people from being able to protest in any way?
I'm sure that was lady intent, and I believe the presenter probably addressed those issues.
Yes, thank you.
Have all members voted? If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 443? The yeas are 163. The nays are 4. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Members, we're going to take up a few further actions. At this time, that completes our rules calendar for today. Chair recognizes Representative Powell, Representative Alan Powell, for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House. I'd like to make a motion that this House insist on our position on House Bill 196.
And we also, a committee of conference be appointed. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, and a committee on conference be appointed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 196?
House Bill 196 by Representative Powell of the 33rd, Washburn of the 144th, Wilkerson of the 38th, and others to be titled an act to amend Article 9 of Chapter 12 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to access to medical cannabis.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. The House has insisted on its position on House Bill 196. The chair appoints Representative Powell of the 33rd, Representative Estration of the 104th, and Representative Corbett of the 174th as a committee of conference on House Bill 196. For what purpose does Chairman Gunther rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion, sir.
Move to transfer House Bill 347 from intergovernmental coordination to judiciary. Both chairmen agree.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
Senate Bill 347 by Senator Anna Navarro, the 31st, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 1562 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to the number of judges at superior courts.
On the gentleman's motion that Senate Bill 347 be withdrawn from the Intergovernmental Coordination Committee and recommitted to the Judiciary Committee, is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. For what purpose does Chairman Bonner rise?
To make a motion?
State your motion, sir.
I move that Senate Bill 451 be moved from the Banks and Banking Committee to the Defense and Veteran Affairs Committee. Both chairmen are in agreement.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
Senate Bill 451 by Senator Islam Parks of the 7th, Payne of the 54th, Anderson the 43rd, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 4 of Title 38 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to veteran benefits so as to place certain requirements on the Department of Veteran Services.
On the gentleman's motion that Senate Bill 451 be withdrawn from the Banks and Banking Committee and recommitted to the Defense and Veteran Affairs Committee, is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. We'll move on to afternoon orders. Representative Adenia is recognized for a very, very special afternoon order. Give the gentleman your full attention. Make him look good.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, today is a great day for me. First of all, happy Women's Month to all women in the House. But today I'd like to recognize a woman that has known me all my life. It's my mom's birthday, y'all. She's a mother of 4. I'm the first. Wife, I've been married to my father for 55 years and counting. She has 7 grandchildren and expecting number 8 this summer, coming to my brother real soon. So I'd like to wish my mom a big happy birthday, and I'm gonna do this once, and I'll only do this one time. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Love you, Mom.
I'm talking about that's a voice on a mama could love. Let's see. Happy birthday, Mom. Representative Wade is recognized for an afternoon order. Representative Will Wade. Representative Wade.
Thank you, Speaker. I just wanted to give a shout out about folks back home. Dawson County High School, Lumpkin County High School, and White County High School were all recognized as AP STEM schools, and Dawson County Schools was also recognized as an AP Challenge school, of which is in the top 17% of high schools in the state of Georgia. And I'm also very excited that both Lumpkin and White County received AP STEM achievement school status. So we are moving the needle when it comes to STEM education and advanced placement, and I'm very proud of those school districts and just wanted to give them a shout out. Thank you, Speaker.
Congratulations to those young people. Representative Jaspers, Chairman Jaspers, is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, there still is time. You know, the other day we did all those nice road namings. There still is time. Next Friday is your deadline. Ms. Day has told me that's what it is, so that's what it will be. You know, get your ads in the paper, all the stuff you need to get done, get it to us. But because what we'll do, we'll add yours to the Senate bill that we have right now, and they're adding theirs to ours. So next Friday, if you need a how to do it, I'll leave it on my desk over here, all the directions how to do it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That concludes our afternoon orders. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions?
Honoring the life and memory of Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Calhoun, Sr. Recognizing and commending Reverend David L. Chancey and congratulating him upon the occasion of his retirement. Recognizing and commending Dr. Ronald G. White. Recognizing and commending Campbellton Lodge number 76. Recognizing and commending Noreen S. Whitehead. Recognizing and commending Apostle Danita Hardin Jones. Recognizing and commending the Augusta Richmond County branch of the NAACP. Recognizing and commending Don Bagley. Recognizing and commending the McDuffie Warren County unit on being named the Georgia Forestry Commission 2023 North Georgia Unit of the Year. Recognizing and commending the Cherokee County E911 Center on being named the Emergency Communications Center of the Year. Recognizing and commending the House of God Church Keith Dominion Incorporated on the occasion of its 90th anniversary, recognizing March 14, 2024 as Community Health Centers Day, and commending the Georgia Primary Care Association, commending and congratulating Edith Shield, recognizing and honoring members of the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee, Chairman Timothy P. Mahoney, the Grand Marshal of the 2024 St. Patrick's Day Parade, John Forbes, on the upcoming occasion of the 2024 St. Patrick's Day Parade in Savannah, Georgia. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privileged resolution.
Is there any objection to adopting the privileged resolutions? Chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. We will move on to announcements. Chairman Corbett is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Everybody's going to listen up. Rural Caucus will meet tomorrow over the Ag Building at 12 o'clock. Mary Mac's, fried chicken, cube steak, mac and cheese, greens, and bread pudding. Come on down.
I hope my dues are paid. I'm coming. Representative Alexander is recognized for an announcement. Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Women Caucus immediately upon adjournment. It'll be in room CLOB 514. Thank you.
Chairman Werkheiser is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Industry and Labor Committee will be meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock, CLOB 506, but since we won't be in the chamber, we want to let you know today. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Chokas recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Small Business Development Committee will meet tomorrow morning, Wednesday the 6th, at 10 a.m., not our normal meeting time, but we will meet at 10 a.m. The Realtors will be our program, and they will give us an update on the real estate industry in Georgia. Be there. Thank you.
Chairman Williamson, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Majority Caucus will meet immediately upon adjournment for lunch in room 403, being catered by Oakwood Cafe of Dalton, Georgia.
Chairman Lumsden is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There will be a meeting of the Full House Insurance Committee in the morning, 9 a.m., CLOB 506. Thank you.
Chairman Bonner is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Defense and Veteran Affairs Committee today, 506 CLOB at 3 o'clock.
Representative Anderson is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Governmental Affairs Subcommittees, the state and local will meet at 1:30. in 415 CLOB, and the election subcommittee will meet at 2 o'clock, 415 CLOB. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. That completes our announcements. If you have a page today, I invite you to come down and celebrate with the pages as we get our pictures made with the pages, so don't forget your pages. The House Majority Leader is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Thursday, March 7th, 2024.
We have a lot of work to get done tomorrow. Committee meetings, members, pay attention to your scheduling, and let's make sure we have a good, productive day tomorrow as we move towards the end of the session. On the motion of the Majority Leader that this House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, March the 7th, 2024. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. Oh yeah. Ayes have it. We're adjourned.